What's up, Gamma? It's Tom. Welcome back to another video. To here for the fourth episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode. We are back with the Career Mode, guys. So apologies for the lack of Career Mode videos in these last few days. But we are back. It's what matters. And today is time for the Chinese Grand Prix. Last episode it was the Vietnam Grand Prix. I highly recommend to go check it out. The links are going to be in the description. We have some free time before heading to track, so we're going to invest in the team, in the funded team event, and in the chassis team building as well. That is going to pump the chassis morale, which we need a lot of morale in the department, so that is going to really come in handy, and in the chassis department focus. So once again, investing in the chassis. But one of the upgrades for the aero department failed. It was for the rear wing, but in the next episode, I believe in this episode, I should say, is going to be ready. So we're going to have some upgrades ready for this Chinese Grand Prix. Unfortunately, I missed the invitational event, and it was really stupidity because I didn't know at this time that I would gain 150 grand and 1,000 points of acclaim. So it was my fault, but in the next episode, the next opportunity that I have to participate in the innovation event, I'm going to accept that. But at that time, I wasn't paying attention to the money and acclaim, so I skipped. That's the reason why I skipped. But here we are already on the track. We are in practice one, just showing how things are in terms of pace. And pace has been looking really good. I was passing on practice programs, which was the first in this career mode series. It's my first time using the setup, and the difference in terms of pace was absolutely abysmal. I increased the difficulty to 102, but I was definitely feeling more comfortable car, less understeer, which I think is my biggest enemy in racing games. Is understeer, and definitely the setup helped to mitigate that, and that allowed us to pass the practice programs. I was running in practice with 101 difficulty, and in the race I'm going to, and in qualifying as well, I'm going to run with 102 because practice programs I think are a little bit harder in these games. So we're doing the qualifying sim program, and Verstappen giving us a little bit of a slipstream, so that would be really good when it comes to qualifying. And we're going to get a purple, I believe. I'm not entirely sure, as we're going for the last corner. Put the throttle as early as you can, open the DRS, and he's going to be purple. No, he's not going to be purple, despite being 3/10 up. He's only enough to put us in the green, but there was no way that I was going to improve that time thanks to the slipstream of Verstappen. But we were in P3 at the end of practice 3, so that definitely improved my confidence. I know that we're not going to qualify in P3 unless we have changeable conditions in the very specific conditions, but that is not the case. We're going to have dry qualifying, but it should be wet. But I think it's by the time of key 2, the middle stages of key 2, and it's going to be really a challenge to get in key 2. So here we are in Q1 on our first lap. Let's see if we can get out of Q1, which is going to be really hard. I think getting ahead of my teammates and at least one of the Hasses, especially of Kevin Magnussen, would be really good. But in this lap has been a little bit with some mistake. As you can see, we step a little bit on the grass, so this lap is going right to the bin. We open the DRS, and it is an awful time, 1:33.5. And actually we're ahead of Latifi despite that awful mistake. And in the second lap, my tires are starting to fade away. So definitely the useful life of the soft tires in qualifying is definitely, as we lose a little bit the back end, is definitely just one lap. So I decided to abort the second lap. We're going straight ahead into the pits, and we have at the moment 2 sets available. So here we are doing our second lap. No, we're getting ready for our second lap, and we'll see what we can do. I think this was my best lap, so we're going to see together with no cuts my best lap of this qualifying session. At the moment we are in P19, we're ahead of one of the Hasses, but I really want to get ahead of Kevin Magnussen, because he is our rival, and if we beat our rival, we receive a lot of acclaim points, and I really want that. So I don't care much about Grosjean, I really care about Magnussen. And as we go through the snail session, one of the we have to be really patient when it comes to the racing line and the corner speed. We hit the apex beautiful. I step a little bit on the grass, but that didn't cost us any sort of time, losing the back end as I'm trying to put the throttle as early as you can. Be careful if you run with the traction control off at the end of that corner. Sometimes it can be really tricky, especially in Sunday race. You have to be really careful when it comes to the tire temperatures. But at the moment we are losing. We improved a little bit, but then we lose a little bit on that happened because the coolant speed wasn't the best. But here the downforce has been pretty decent in this car. I was expecting to be under Steel City, so probably the setup is helping us out. We're improving by 5/10. We lose a little bit of time at the exit because I overshot a little bit that corner. We are 3/10 up, but definitely we're improving a lot on our lap time. Make sure to hit the apex beautifully here, and it's vital here through this the Max Chilton corner. I think it's called Max Chilton corner, if I'm not wrong. I think in 2013 they call that. But make sure to get the best exit as you can, because you need to get the best straight line speed as you can through this long straight. One of the best places to overtake when it comes to Sunday. Open the DRS and make sure to hit now the 100 brake marker just a little bit before. I think you can do just a little bit after if you have enough confidence, if you're driving the Mercedes. But definitely the Storm Motorsport F1 car, you can do that. Make sure to hit the apex. We missed a little bit the apex. We hit, but I think I could get a better line. We cross the line and it is full 10s up, and unfortunately it's just P17 and we are not ahead of Kevin Magnussen, so that was a little bit disappointing. But at the end, in the later stages, is the sky is starting to get a little bit darker, so I doubt that I'm going to improve on this lap. And as you can see, at the middle stages of the lap, we're finishing the second sec. It's starting to rain, so I think it's still good, but the tire, the temperature of the track started to decrease, and the grip wasn't the best as it was in the second run. So unfortunately not going to improve in that time as we're going into hyperspeed mode. So just to show you that we're not going to improve in this lap, and we're going across the line, and we're going to start Sunday race in P18. So I think I don't call successful qualifying, but it was definitely way better than the previous qualifying session. I don't know if it was the best position that we're going to start in this race, but in a nutshell, I think I'm really happy. Unfortunately, we weren't able to beat Magnussen, but at least we are ahead of our teammate and of the Williams cars. Unfortunately, we couldn't beat the other half of Roman Grosjean, but things can look really good for the race, because the one stop is really powerful around here, and the top 10 can start on, will be forced maybe to start on the soft. It depends if it's going to rain in Q2, if they use the intermediates here, not to be forced to start on the soft. So without further ado, let's go to Sunday and let's see. I'm not aiming for points, but at least crossing the line in a higher position. So without further ado, let's go to the race, the Chinese Grand Prix.
It's time to find out which driver is up to the task of claiming the Chinese Grand Prix. We're here in Shanghai. We're here in the Yangtze River Delta today, home of the 16 corners that make up the Shanghai International Circuit. 54% of this 3.3-mile lap is taken at full throttle, and we'll be getting up to speeds of around 200 miles an hour, with DRS assisting the cars down the back straight before they brake into the sharp hairpin at turn 14. Alongside me to discuss all the action today is Anthony Davidson. And thanks for joining us, Ant. And tell me, you were down in the pit lane earlier. How do you think the track conditions are today?
Well, it's looking a bit cold out there, if I'm honest. These tyres have quite a narrow operating window in terms of the temperatures they need to extract the best grip. So with a cold track surface, it's going to be harder to keep those temperatures up, which will lead to lower grip and maybe more mistakes.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Vettel, Leclerc, Max Verstappen and Albon, Ricciardo, Ocon, Perez and Lance Stroll, Kvyat, Gasly, Antonio Giovinazzi and Magnussen, Sainz, Grosjean, Thomas and Lando Norris, Raikkonen, Giotto, Russell and Nicholas Latifi. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Okay, last race wasn't that great for us, so we need to try and do better today. Let's give this one 100%.
Thanks, Jeff, and welcome, guys, to the Chinese Grand Prix. Definitely, I'm hoping at least that we're going to do a better job than it was in Bahrain and Vietnam. The strategy-wise is going to be one stop with no surprise. We're going to start on the mediums and then dress a brand new set of hard tires. So we're going to do just 2 more laps on the hard tires, so it's a very awkward strategy, but we are doing a 50% race. If it was a 100% race, it would be a different story. 5 red lights for the Chinese Grand Prix. We'll see what we can do, and it's lights out, and away we go. Let's see if we can get a good start. Yes, it is indeed against the Haas. cars of Roman Grosjean, but he gets then the second phase of the start. It was really good, and it can be a free wide into the first corner between Giovinazzi and the two Hasses and Carlos Sainz as well. We're going to try to pull around inside of the McLaren of the Spaniard, way down the other than McLaren, let me say. As we're going now, we have the inside line. We are side by side with Kevin Magnussen as well, and the free wide as well ahead of us between Giovinazzi, Gasly and the other Haas of Grosjean. But Magnussen is off the track, as you can see. I think we pushed a little bit our rival into the gravel trap, and he's in last place. So controversy already in the early stages of the Chinese Grand Prix. Definitely we're going to watch the replays, but at the moment we have to manage these cars as we're going up on the inside of Antonio Giovinazzi. But drama and controversy as the early stages of the Chinese Grand Prix already has been trying to chase down Roman Grosjean, but we have to be really careful with the tire temperatures, because now that the TR in this game is really a thing. It's definitely more powerful than the TR of F1 2019. The Substream is less powerful, so definitely it's going to be quite a challenge. So it's going to be quite a task to overtake, and maybe we're going to drop some positions, because behind us we have some definitely stronger cars than our Tom Motorsport F1 car, and especially for Carlos Sainz. But Grosjean is so slow for the Max Chilton corner, and we fly past him, and that's us into P14 if I'm not wrong of this Chinese Grand Prix. The two Mercedes in 1-2, so no surprise, that car is absolutely OP, and we're getting some slipstream of Gasly. So it is P13 at the moment. It should be P12 as we're going to dive down the inside. We're going neutral, so just to see how aggressive I was in the downshifts, as we are in P12 of this Chinese Grand Prix at the end of the lap 1. So our car is in positions that it shouldn't be, but it was definitely a successful start. So now ahead of us we have the 2 racing points, and I believe the other AlphaTauri. So I was saying Toro also, I believe, when I was chasing down Gasly, so apologies for that. And yes, it is indeed Daniel Kvyat, and he's trying to chase down Sergio Perez. And so we're going to watch the start. So we're watching Magnussen on board POV. So he's trying to go run outside of Grosjean. We are on the inside of Sainz, so it was Sainz, apologies for that. And yeah, I squeezed Sainz, but I wasn't aware of Magnussen. So I didn't know at this moment when I was driving. I didn't know that Magnussen was alongside Sainz. So if I knew, I wasn't pushing Sainz that much, but I was really aggressive with Sainz, as you can see. So thankfully no damage for Sainz or Magnussen. But I can consider this a racing incident because I didn't know that Magnussen was alongside Sainz. So maybe I should have been a little bit careful. Maybe I should have been penalized. Let me know in the comments what you do if you were the stewards. Maybe I can consider this a racing incident and I would get away. But this is Magnussen now on a charge, overtaking the P19 car. People don't say like that. My English is really bad. It is Nicholas Latifi, and he's now into P21. It isn't 19 because there's 22 cars, because this career mode is amazing. I know what I'm saying. Lap 3, we're in positions that we shouldn't be at the moment, and we're actually keeping up with Lance Stroll, so I'm really impressed with that. I'm running with 102 difficulty, I want to bear in mind that. And we're not pulling away of Gasly, but we are managing the gap. He has the RS, but here's the thing, the AI, it's a problem with the AI. The AI doesn't use the ERS, the overtake button, in the straights. They only use in the middle of the corner and in the exits, but when they are with the DRS open, they don't activate the ERS system. And I think that's a big problem with the AI at this moment. But the first stopper is going to be Max Verstappen. He's definitely on the 2-stop, but he's starting on the softs. He's going to switch on to the mediums, and he's going to cross the line in another set of mediums. So he has 1 stop to do still in this Chinese Grand Prix. The same thing for our teammate Luca Giotto. So they're going very aggressive with the strategy. I think it's not the best way to go in this race, considering that the situation that he's in, that is way off the point. So I think he should try the 1-stop, but he's going to stick with the 2-stop, and maybe this strategy can pay off if we have a safety car. So it's a very risky one. But Verstappen now is on the charge, and he can't lose with these a lot of time with these guys, because they are in a different race. And if he want to get ahead of anyone, he needs to push and not lose time with these guys, which are in a different race. So we are in P11 thanks to Verstappen's stop, and we are 1 position away of scoring points. But remember, this is a long race, and maybe we're going to lose the position to Gasly as he dives down inside into the hairpin. We're going to try to make a switchback move. We made it work, and that's us into P11. So we get that position. That was a beautiful switchback, as you can see, and definitely we have some pace in this Chinese Grand Prix. So maybe the practice programs, passing all of them, definitely it is a good sign of good things to come. But remember that our car is way off the pace against these guys. But at the moment in these mediums, things are looking good. Maybe in the hards are not going to be, because when I fit the hards, is a tire that I don't like to use, but I think for me in this race where the one stop must work is definitely a mandatory tyre, at least for me. But now Hamilton started on the mediums going to the one stop, so that's the obvious strategy. Mercedes making smart IQ plays, 200 IQ plays as well for Ferrari and the other Red Bull of Alexander Albon. Some different strategies, and I think in terms of the front runners, Verstappen is the only one sticking to the two stops. So if he wants to get maybe a podium, because the Mercedes are too strong, I think he's going to be really hard. But on lap 13 we're going to pit, and we have 64% on our left front, so I was pushing a lot to keeping ahead of Gasly, but then in the last few laps I started to lose some time to Racing Point, so I decided, okay, I'm going to pit. There's no point, I don't want to destroy these tires, and we're going to pit a lap earlier. Maybe we can get an undercut on Lance Stroll, because the tire wear is pretty high around Shanghai. There's a lot of fast corners, and you have to be really careful when it comes to the tire. So it's going to be just one more lap than scheduled in these hards, and at the moment we are in P14. We get a good stop from the boys, and we are still ahead of Gasly, so things are looking good for us. I'm really happy where I am at the moment. P11 I think is the best result that we could get. No points, but nonetheless I would be happy with P11. Maybe it is a good sign of things to come. But then a lap later, there is a Racing Point of Lance Stroll that is pitting, and it gets held up a little bit by the Alfa Romeo. I don't know what Alfa Romeo it is, but we'll see. Maybe we can overtake Lance Stroll, because this is going to be really close. And there he is. He's going to deactivate the pit limiter, and he overtook the Racing Point, and that's us into P11. But this should be, if I am not wrong, this should be P10 or P11. It depends on Max Verstappen, and if we get the undercut on Sergio Perez, so maybe we can score points in our first race. And I don't know, I don't know what to feel at this moment, because this is just the 4th race of my team career mode. I was expecting this to be really hard. Maybe we're getting a little bit lucky today with the strategies. Yes, it can be that maybe the difficulty is a little bit too low. 102, I think it's pretty high for the standards for me, so maybe I have to increase the difficulty. So that's definitely a good sign of things to come. So at the moment we are in P11. Perez already made their stop, so this is the position that we are now. Kvyat is ahead of us, and I think Verstappen overtook us. So now I have to wait for a two-stopper to stop again, and it should be Verstappen, but I don't think he's going to be within our pit window. But things are really looking good for us. I'm really happy with P11 at the moment. I think I'm living the life now. I'm really happy with the car, with the setup, but we have some yellow flags, and I think someone is pulling over. I can see it is Sebastian Vettel. You can see in the minimap is one of the Ferraris, and Vettel is out of the race, and we are into P10 of this Chinese Grand Prix. There's a long race. We have some laps to go, but we are in the points, and we can be point scorers today in this Chinese Grand Prix thanks to Sebastian Vettel. So I really like Vettel in real life and in the game as well, because he's out of this Chinese Grand Prix, and that is going to be in a free position, and we're going to be promoted from P11 to P10. So this is an absolute dream of a race for us. We can score our first point in Formula 1, and there is Vettel, an engine failure, and this Chinese Grand Prix comes to an early end. So that's really unfortunate. Ferrari is struggling to even in the game, but we are really close to score a point. But we have 9 laps to go, and Verstappen already made his stop. So it is in P9, as you can see. He overtook Kvyat. So definitely the points being ahead of Verstappen is definitely out of the bag. He overtook already Perez, so definitely it was without our pit window, and we are really close to score our points. Look how much am I pushing. We are setting personal best in the first and second sector, so just see how am I trying to pull away off Stroll. We're actually managing the gap, because that's a problem of the AI. They don't use the ERS in the straight, and that is stopping Stroll to get a point in this race. I was going to say podium, so maybe that's the most common thing in real life, but here we go. We are in the later stages of this race. We are in the last lap, and we are getting closer and closer to get a point, a single point in this F1 My Team career mode. I wasn't expecting to get in the 4th race, but we are getting really close, so I have to calm down and make sure to get a nice exit and not risk too much as we lose a little bit at the back end. And the focus, Tom, for God's sake, focus, because we had just 2 corners to go, this long straight, and 2 corners to go to be point scorers in Formula 1 for Tom Motorsport. Who would have thought, in a brilliant race. Here we go through the hairpin, locking up a little bit, because I'm trying to pull away off Stroll to not giving any chance, and now it's just a 1 corner. I'm going to just take it easy, because it's a long straight till across the line. There he is, and the foot to the floor, and we're going to be point scorers in Formula 1. Get in there!
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
That's it for another Grand Prix and a fantastic win for Mercedes. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again.
Amazing performance out there. I'm sure you're pretty happy with that. Did you struggle to get through all that traffic today?
It was definitely a struggle, but I push as hard as I can to pull away of the racing points, and that is going to result compliment to the reality department.
Your team must be ecstatic with how you're performing.
And here we're going to the option below. It's just to see the smiles on their faces, and they should be really happy with the point today.
Great. Well, that's everything.
First of all, I want to apologize for my voice crack. I was really ecstatic in this commentary box, but there he is. One single point in my team career mode. In episode 4, I still can't believe that we just score a point. And that is amazing. Maybe the difficulty was a little bit too low, but you don't have the idea how much I pushed to pull away off Stroll, to maintain the gap. We didn't pull away, we just maintained the gap. It was always in the DRS range during this lap, since the Vettel's DNF. And there he is, P16 with a magical point. And we are the worst ones when it comes to point scores, but I don't care. We are ahead of Magnussen, we are ahead of our teammate. And I don't know what to feel at this moment. Make sure to smash the damn like button and subscribe to the channel to see plenty more Formula 1 2020 My Team Career Mode content. Maybe this is a good sign of things to go, but we have a long way if we want to be at the moment. We are not in the range of scoring points. This was a miracle, and it probably is not going to happen in the next couple of races. We have a lot of work to do, but guys, that was a dream of a race. Next episode is going to be the new track, the Zandvoort Grand Prix. I absolutely love that track, but for me it's everything, and I'll see you guys for a brand new video next time. I was forgetting, make sure to share this video with your friends. It really helps me out with the divulgation of the channel, so if you could do that, I would be really thankful. But for now it's time to say goodbye, and I'll see you guys for a brand new video next time.